blood so mad, feels like coagulation. I can't twist the truth, it knows no regulation. None of the senators can pass legislation, and marches alone won't stop all the hating, and human respect is disintegrating. And you have so much money you can fly into space, but when you return, it's the same old place. Hate your neighbor, but don't forget to say grace. And you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, that you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Oh, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction.
Thank you, Julie. That was tremendous. That was just tremendous. Okay. Now we're going to head for the PowerPoint. Reckoning with Hiroshima, Nukes, and Climate. We welcome you. I think you're muted. I hope you have grabbed a pen and pencil, and away we go. Have we really reckoned with Hiroshima? Have we reckoned with Albert Einstein's warning? The release of atomic power has changed everything except our way of thinking. Have we reckoned with Naomi Klein's warning? Climate change. This changes everything.
Rich, just pause for a second.
Yes.
We're not seeing your slides.
Oh, well, I am. So hold on.
You need to be sure you're sharing screen.
Yep. Okay. I will. Thank you.
There you go.
There you go. That's good.
If you can go to slideshow.
Yep.
There you go. You're
Super.
good.
Thank you, Terry. Well, tonight is a time for reckoning. Most of us read John Hersey's Hiroshima in high school. His blockbuster of a book started like this. At exactly 15 minutes past 8 in the morning on August 6, 1945, Japanese time, at the moment when the atomic bomb flashed above Hiroshima, Miss Toshihiko Sasaki, a clerk in the personnel department of the East Asia Tin Works, had just sat down. John Hersey told her story and the stories of 5 other survivors in the midst of the 70,000 who were killed in an instant. One survivor of Hiroshima, that is, one man who survived excruciating burns, radiation sickness, more than 20 surgeries, and he also survived 2 suicide attempts. He declared, "I firmly believe that the atomic bombing was the worst act of terrorism in history. Nuclear weapons must be completely abolished." To reckon with Hiroshima is to ask, was it necessary? Admiral William D. Leahy, Chief of Staff to Presidents Franklin Roosevelt and Harry Truman, in his post-war memoir, wrote, "It is my opinion that the use of this barbarous weapon at Hiroshima and Nagasaki was of no material assistance in our war against Japan. The Japanese were already defeated and ready to surrender because of the effective sea blockade and the successful bombing with conventional weapons." General Dwight D. Eisenhower said, and I quote, "The Japanese were ready to surrender. It wasn't necessary to hit them with that awful thing. Reckoning with Hiroshima means don't ever bomb anyone again with that awful thing. On the left, the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists Doomsday Clock shows us how close we are to a nuclear war nightmare. The Doomsday Clock is only 100 seconds to midnight. This is the closest the Doomsday Clock has ever been over 76 years to the end of civilization. The COVID-19 pandemic is a wake-up call, demonstrating that governments are unprepared to manage nuclear weapons in the climate emergency. The climate clock on the right tells us there still is time to avoid climate disaster. But this climate clock in New York City shows we have about 7 years to avoid raising global temperatures above 1.5 degrees centigrade, a point of no return that science tells us will make the worst climate disasters inevitable. And the heat is already up 1 degree. Teenager climate defender Greta Thunberg delivers our agenda. Unite behind the science. That is our demand. The average temperature in all 83 counties of Michigan is higher than 30 years ago. Warming favors mosquitoes, West Nile virus, and Lyme disease. Michigan crops like cherries and apples suffer when March has warm temperatures early in the month and subsequent freezes. Warming extends the asthma season, and there's more pollen, more allergies. A June 30th newspaper headline read, "Climate change makes poison ivy grow even nastier, more abundant, and more toxic." Water temperatures in each of the Great Lakes have risen since 1995, and Lake Superior is one of the fastest warming lakes in the world. Warming waters threaten fish like walleye, trout, and salmon, which like colder water. Warming waters benefit invasive species like the sea lamprey. And as we've witnessed in Detroit and its suburbs this summer, warming causes extreme rainstorms, resulting in flooding in basements and sewage overflow that expose us to bacteria and toxic contaminants. Noah Jansen lives up north at Carp Lake, not far from Mackinac City, where he plants young shagbark hickory trees. Those little trees come from seeds 250 miles south of Carp Lake. You don't find shagbark hickory trees up north among the maple, birch, cedar, and white pines, but those balsam firs, jack pines, and northern white pines are threatened by the warmer weather. Southern tree species need to be planted to maintain the forest. So Noah Jansen and his colleagues at the Little Traverse Bay Band of Ottawa Indians are planting thousands of trees, 30 different species, planting a diverse, climate-resistant forest. That's a righteous reckoning with our climate emergency. Imagine how you might reckon with climate emergency. Imagine yourself driving an electric vehicle. Transportation is the #1 source of US climate pollution and a major source of deadly air pollution. Imagine yourself planting trees, going vegetarian or vegan, campaigning for the Thrive Act. Thrive will provide for family-sustaining union jobs for 15 million Americans, workers for clean water, electric vehicles, childcare, and eldercare. It will protect wetlands, forests, urban spaces, and family farmers. This unique bill, it shows that there will be investments of $1 trillion per year for 10 years. It will be authorized by a board from impacted communities, unions, Black, Brown, and Indigenous nations. We salute Representative Debbie Dingell, who is the sponsor of the Thrive Act in the House of Representatives. Climate change and Pentagon spending intersect. On the left map of the Middle East, the black areas represent oil or gas fields. Our taxes are spent protecting those oil and gas fields. We pay for some 800 military bases and scores of ships and submarines to guard big oil companies. And the US Navy is developing 4 new aircraft carriers to keep the oil flowing. The Pentagon protects big oil in the Middle East. The Pentagon's war machines drink lots of oil all over the world. The Pentagon produces pollution. The Pentagon fears crop failures from global heating and droughts. Consequently, the Pentagon fears the resulting mass migrations and conflicts. And concerning migrations, the total number of people displaced in 2020 by war, flooding, and wildfires reached an all-time high of 55 million. Pentagon spending creates climate change while eating 1/2 of your federal income tax dollars. Most nuclear weapons have an explosive power 8 to 30 times more than the Hiroshima blast. The United States has 400 intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs. They are on high alert because we have to hurry to use them or lose them because they are sitting ducks. The US has about 10 Trident submarines patrolling the world. They could fire nuclear warheads powerful enough to destroy 7,000 Hiroshimas. The US is ready to make nuclear nightmares happen. Former Defense Secretary Robert McNamara, speaking about the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, said, "In the end, we lucked out. It was luck that prevented nuclear war. US computers issued 3 false warnings that the Russians had fired nukes when Jimmy Carter was president. Twice, bomber pilots were ordered to climb aboard their bombers and start their engines." The chief Russian air defense officer on duty on September 26, 1983, was Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov. Petrov's radars showed a number of nuclear-armed missiles coming from the United States towards Russia. But Petrov figured his radars were wrong, and he decided all by himself not to tell his superiors. The radars were wrong. The Russians did not fire their nukes in retaliation. And when Petrov died, Time magazine called him the man who saved the world. The greatest, most immediate threat to our very existence is 13,000 nuclear weapons, 90% of them possessed by the US and Russia. Consider 2 scenarios, one with 100 nukes and the second scenario with 1,000 nukes. Even a so-called small nuclear war between India and Pakistan involving just 100 Hiroshima-sized bombs would kill over 20 million people in a week. Then over the next 10 years, all the soot in the air would block sunlight, causing a 12% drop in US corn production, a 15% drop in Chinese rice production, and a staggering 31% drop in Chinese winter wheat. The resulting global famines could kill 25% of the world's people. Suppose the US and Russia each fired 1,000 nukes. There goes sunlight, and temperatures would plunge, dropping below freezing every night for some 3 years, and no food would grow for 10 years. Unable to grow food, most of us would starve to death. When President Harry Truman described the effects of the atomic bomb that demolished Hiroshima, he used these words: fire, fury, and frankly, power the likes of which the world has never seen before. President Donald Trump wanted to prevent North Korea from so much as even developing the ability to attack the US. And so he threatened North Korea with the same words: fire, fury, and frankly, power the likes of which the world has never seen before. The US runs war exercises against North Korea and flies B-2 and B-52 bombers to simulate nuclear bombing attacks. We terrorize North Korea. Contrary to the cliche that no nuclear weapons have been used since Hiroshima and Nagasaki, US presidents have used our nuclear weapons on about 30 occasions. US officials have employed the nukes as threats, just as a gun is used when it is pointed at someone in a confrontation to get one's way. Thus, for example, the Nixon administration threatened the government of North Vietnam with a nuclear attack on 13 occasions. I conclude the US presidents use nuclear weapons as threats. In 1985, at the first meeting of Presidents Mikhail Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan, Reagan asked Gorbachev if the Soviets would help America if America was attacked by aliens. A far out question. But when Gorbachev told Reagan that the Soviets would aid America if aliens attacked, the atmosphere between the two presidents turned cordial. The summit ended with this announcement from President Reagan and Gorbachev: a nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. After President Biden and President Putin had their summit in June, Biden and Putin reaffirmed the Reagan-Gorbachev statement: a nuclear war cannot be won and must never be fought. So they believe in arms control, but we are advocating for arms reduction, nuclear disarmament. Imagine no modernization of the ICBMs. Actually, that means no escalation in terms of their speed nor blast power. Imagine a US policy: no first use. We will not be the first to fire nuclear weapons. Imagine no nuclear missiles with their bombs on hair trigger alert or prompt launch status. Imagine no nuclear football traveling with the US president all the time, and the backup football with the vice president all the time. Imagine the US joining 55 other nations in signing the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. Imagine no modernization of the US nuclear ICBMs. Presidents Biden and Putin extended for 5 years the only remaining nuclear arms treaty, the New START Treaty. New START limits each side to 1,500 nuclear warheads, which are on 700 missiles and bombers. But according to President Obama's 2013 nuclear employment guidance, the United States could safely reduce its deployed strategic nuclear weapons by 1/3, from 1,500 down to 1,000. But the modernization money is actually upgrading all of our strategic nuclear weapons. It's not modernization, it's escalation, building new nuclear armed submarines, long-range bombers, and new long-range ICBMs. Economically, politically, and morally, we taxpayers cannot afford to shell out $1.7 trillion over 30 years. Now, Senator Ed Markey imagines a brand new definition of ICBMs. He imagines and proposes replacing intercontinental ballistic missiles with invest in cures before missiles. It's S-982 in the Senate and HR 2227 in the House. More on that later. Congress should use our taxes to deal with global pandemics. It's time for Congress to move the money to make us more secure. This could be the shortest piece of legislation ever introduced and hopefully passed. It is the policy of the United States not to use nuclear weapons first. Without NFU, Russia and China fear a surprise attack. Therefore, they feel pressure to keep their nukes on high alert. That is risking an unintended nuclear war by miscalculation, misunderstanding, or accident. NFU still preserves deterrence, which is the stated reason to even have nuclear weapons. The US can always strike back, which theoretically should prevent Russia from striking first. Of course, this is MAD, mutually assured destruction. 65% of Americans say the US should not attack unless it is attacked first. In the last session of Congress, Senator Debbie Stabenow co-sponsored a no first use bill. Now, Senator Elizabeth Warren has introduced a new no first bill. It is S-1219. Will Senator Stabenow co-sponsor S-1219? How about asking her? You can call her 202-224-4822. Imagine that our country has no nuclear bombs on missiles on hair trigger alert or prompt launch status. No president should be able to fire ICBMs within 20 minutes. Taking nukes off hair trigger alert reduces the risk of human errors, mistakes, accidents, and miscalculations. We don't need our 400 ICBMs on hair trigger alert because our submarines with their nuclear bomb-tipped missiles are a sufficient deterrent. And submarines, unlike the ICBMs, are not sitting ducks. Besides, only Congress can declare war. And presidential candidates have talked about taking our nukes off prompt launch status, but they haven't done it. There is actually a briefcase. You can probably see it kind of in the middle of the picture. It is always carried close to the US president. It is called the nuclear football. It contains the button, the codes for our president to send to fire our nuclear weapons. But no one should have the sole unchecked authority and power to fire nukes. Remember, during the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, the military chiefs wanted President Kennedy to fire nukes. President Nixon was drinking heavily during his final days in office. And didn't President Reagan suffer dementia? Last December, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi was so concerned about President Trump's abnormalities that she contacted the chief of the military. Then, during the armed invasion of the Capitol on January 6th, it took an alert worker to throw some insurrectionists off the trail they were on to get Vice President Mike Pence. And what was with Mike Pence? The backup, nuclear football. We need to imagine no nuclear football. Imagine the United States being the first nuclear armed power to sign the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons that went into force in January. We can lead the other 9 countries to stop developing, testing, producing, stockpiling, and threatening to use or even possess nuclear weapons. Now, nuclear weapons are illegal. But we peace activists are up against aggressive senators who spend our taxes on bigger bombs. Meet the Senate Nuke Caucus, busting the budget, building bigger bombs, and making us, our children and grandchildren, less safe. A small Republican-dominated ICBM caucus exercises outsized power in a frightening campaign, pushing a wasteful and dangerous $1.7 trillion upgrade of nukes, some with warheads 20 times more powerful than the atomic bomb that destroyed thousands of human lives in Hiroshima. But 61% of Americans support phasing out the 400 ICBMs that are kept on high alert status, giving the president just a few minutes to decide whether to fire the missiles based on a warning that could be wrong. New United States nukes violate the US-Russia Nuclear Arms Limitation Treaty. They are likely to escalate the arms race. They sabotage talks with Russia and China, and they encourage non-nuclear nations to enrich weapons-grade uranium. Imagine blocking the nuclear caucus. That's what we must do. Meet the military-industrial congressional complex, also pushing new nukes. The Air Force has accepted Northrop Grumman as the sole bidder to build the new ICBMs, called the Ground-Based Strategic Deterrent, or GBSD. So, with the new competition, you can bet that the price will go up. GBSD has been labeled the money pit missile. Remember, the purpose of the GBSD, the 400 of them, is to draw the nuclear bombs to where they are, to the 5 western states, North Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, Nebraska, and Colorado. That might use up Russia's nukes. That's the idea. But over 10 million Americans will die because they are sitting ducks. But also remember, most Americans want to get rid of the current ICBMs and any new ICBMs. We are up against military contractors who are donating millions to the 64 members of Congress who sit on the committees that will decide if we continue to pay taxes on the GBSD. Those contractors flood members of Congress with 380 lobbyists. Nevertheless, Peace Action is one of the top 4 organizations critiquing and opposing the GBSD. Imagine yourself as a peace action activist, blocking the military-industrial congressional complex for the sake of our children and grandchildren. Imagine yourself attending Peace Action's Peace Builder Banquet, October 30, to honor Laura Dewey, Vic Max, and Congressman Andy Levin, who votes Peace Action's priorities over 90% of the time. Imagine supporting Peace Action's initiatives by donating to Peace Action of Michigan at www.peaceactionmich.org. Imagine yourself contacting Senator Peters at www.peters.senate.gov and contacting Senator Stabenow at www.stabenow.senate.gov. You can write them. Please co-sponsor S982, the ICBM Act. Invest in cures, not missiles. We must move the money from unnecessary nuclear weapons to stopping pandemics. Imagine yourself helping to move the money from unnecessary weapons to domestic priorities, such as reducing hunger, cutting poverty, and stopping COVID-19. Stay informed at www.peaceactionmich.org. There we are, folks. Thank you. I can see some claps. I'm going to unmute Julie, and she can take us home with a couple of songs. And let's see. I need to there you go, Julie. You're unmuted. Okay.
I'm unmuted. Okay. So I actually had more than a couple, if that's all right. You just cut me off.
That's right. Yes, yes. Go for it.
You can just mute me if it gets too long.
I don't think so.
All right. This is one of my favorite peace songs. The music was composed by a Finnish composer, Jean Sibelius, in 1900, and the lyrics were written by Lloyd Stone, who is an American poet, in 1934. This is my song, the song of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover, leaf, and pine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for their lands and for mine. Thank you. That is the Song of Peace. This next song I'm going to sing for you has a little story behind it. John Denver, remember him? He was actually a peace activist. Most of his songs were not that kind of song, but in 1985 he toured the Soviet Union during the Cold War, He was greatly moved by a visit to the Piskaryovka Memorial Cemetery, where hundreds of thousands of victims of the siege of Leningrad are buried. He also met Alexander Gratsky, a leading singer-songwriter in Russia. The following year in Moscow, they recorded this anti-war number from both the US and the Soviet perspectives. Denver commissioned a short film for the song, and this is believed to have been the first time an American and Soviet artist performed together in a music video. John Denver himself said that this was the best piece of work he had ever produced in his career. But the song precipitated a split between Denver and his record company, RCA, which had recently been acquired by General Electric, who had military contracts and couldn't have an artist singing about these issues. If you don't think the music industry is controlled, think again. All right, so here's the song by John Denver, and I assume then that the second verse from the Soviet perspective was written by that Soviet guy. All right. I am the son of a grassland farmer, Western Oklahoma, 1943. And I always felt grateful to live in the land of the free. I gave up my father to South Korea, the mind of my brother to Vietnam. Now there's a banker who says I must give up my land. There are 4 generations of blood in this topsoil, 4 generations of love on this farm. Before I give up, I would rather give up my right arm. What are we making weapons for? Why keep on feeding the war machine? We take it right out of the mouths of our babies, take it away from the hands of the poor. Tell me, what are we making weapons for? I had a son and he was a soldier. He was so like my father, he was so much like me. To be a good comrade was the best that he dreamed he could be. He gave up his future to revolution, his life to a battle that just can't be won. For this is not living, to live at the point of a gun. I remember the 900 days of Leningrad, the sound of the dying, the cut of the cold. I remember the moments I prayed I would never grow old. What are we making weapons for? Why keep on feeding the war machine? We take it right out of the mouths of our babies, take it away from the hands of the poor. Tell me, what are we making weapons for? For the first time in my life, I feel like a prisoner, a slave to the ways of the powers that be. And I fear for my children as I fear for the future I see. Tell me, how can it be we're still fighting each other? How can it be? What does it take for a people to learn? If our song is not sung as a chorus, we surely will burn. What are we making weapons for? Why keep on feeding the war machine? We take it right out of the mouths of our babies, take it away from the hands of the poor. Tell me, what are we making weapons for? Have we forgotten all the lives that were given This could be the last time if peace is our vision. Let us begin, let us begin, let us begin. Thank you. That's John Denver. And also that other guy, Alexander Gradsky. Okay, I'm going to do 2 more, maybe 3, but 2 for sure. I'm trying to decide the order. I think I'm going to do something a little more upbeat to see if maybe a few of you will smile and tap your toes. You could sing along, but you got to do it muted. Someday they'll invent Zoom where we can actually sing together. They pay paradise, put up a parking lot with a something, a boutique and a swinging hot spot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They pay paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, ba, 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 ba. Ooh, ba, ba, ba. They took all the trees, put them in a tree museum, and they charged all the people $1.50 just to see them. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They pay paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, ba, 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 ba. Ooh, ba, ba, ba. Hey, farmer, farmer, put away the DDT now. Leave the spots on the apples, but give me the birds and the bees. Please, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They pay paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, ba, 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 ba. Ooh, ba, ba, ba. Late last night, I heard the screen door slam, and a big yellow taxi took away my old man. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? We pay paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, la, 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 la. Ooh, ba, ba, ba. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? They pay paradise, put up a parking lot. Ooh, ba, 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 ba. Ooh, ba, ba, ba. They pay paradise, put up a parking lot. All right. And this was another request by Rich. I haven't done this one in a long time. There we go. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us, above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one. Imagine no possessions. I wonder if you can. I mean, I can't imagine living without my coffee grinder, for example. Nothing, yo-ho, I wonder if you can. No need for greed or hunger. A family of woman and man. Imagine all the people, I lost my place, sharing all the world. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Let's see. How are we doing, Rich? Should I stop there? Or should I do one more?
I'm ready for one more, please.
Okay. All right. This is really a sing-along, and it's one that should be sung along. But, oh well. I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside and study war no more. I ain't gonna 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 study war no more. We're gonna build a future for our grandchildren down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. We're gonna build a future for our grandchildren down by the riverside and study war no more. I ain't gonna 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 study war no more. We gotta work for change together down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. We gonna work for change together down by the riverside and study war no more. We ain't gonna study war no more.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Julie. Yes,
You're welcome.
yes. That was fabulous and fantastic. Thank you, Julie, for singing that moves us into actions. The stakes could not be higher. We want our children and grandchildren to say, thanks for keeping us safe from nuclear and climate catastrophes. Frankly, we need each other. We need each other to do peacemaking actions every day. I put a couple of comments, answers on the chat, and they'll be there for a bit. So you can unmute yourselves, talk to each other, try to do that. And to Julie, much thanks. And to everybody, shalom, salam, shante, peace. Peace to you. Good night.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you for doing this.
This is excellent.
And I just put my email in the chat, everybody, in case you're not on my email list and want to know about things. Like all through COVID, I was doing live stream concerts, and I'm about to do my first outdoor concert since COVID began in about a week and a half. So if you don't already know that, if you're not on my email list, go ahead in the chat and send me, if you want to be on my list, send me an email and say, please put me on contacts.
Never if I wanted to find out about this concert. That's what her concert.
I was reading, I wasn't listening.
Oh, she's gonna have a concert outdoors in a week and a half. You
We
gotta
can hear
get
somebody talking.
I will put the PowerPoint on the Peace Action website early next week.
Okay. That's a deal.
Nice to see all your faces. I think you're allowed to unmute now if you want to talk.
Go for it.
I was just unmuting to say farewell. Thank you very much.
Julie, thank you for the singing. I'm glad you could not hear me harmonizing. With that, I'll sign off. Bye, everybody. Wonderful meeting.
All right.
Well,
Thanks.
could I share, the Citizens for Peace is presenting a program with Kim Bergier. I think most of the peacemakers know about her, and it's celebrating the I Can, and we can stop nuclear weapons. She's going to tell us how we can do that. Tuesday night, go to citizens4peace.com and you can see what we're up to. But it's wonderful. Thank you, Rich and Julie. This was great.
You're welcome. We look forward to Tuesday night. Citizens
you.
for Peace.
Okay, I'm going to go too. Bye, everybody.
Thanks,
Goodbye,
Julie.
Julie.
That was great.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for asking me.
That is great.
Okay. We're all set. Good to see you, Maris. Oh, she's unmute. We'll just wait.
Good to see you too.
Is it raining in Heartland yet?
Not yet.
It's coming.
Is it
That's what they
coming?
say.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
open my window. Maybe it's there. I haven't seen it. I closed it.
Oh, maybe not. Okay.
How about a special thank you to Maris for the way that she keeps us posted on the tragedies in Israel?
Oh, Palestine, yeah.
Yeah, I do spend a lot of time reading about the tragedy.
Mhm. I'm just finishing up Obama's 700-page book, and he's talking about trying to get peace in the Middle East and how difficult it was and how hard he tried. That's quite a book. I'm on page 600. I don't know. So I'm almost done. I think I have about 30 pages left, but it's one of the best written presidential books, I think. because he comes off so human. They swear a lot, by the way, Rahm Emanuel and Obama. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the new strategy though is more or less for human rights. Everybody can get around human rights for everybody, including Palestinians. They're
sure.
humans too.
For sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go.
Okay.
It was wonderful listening to all that great music from my past.
Yeah, it was fun. Well, thank you so much, Rich, and bye
Yeah.
all. I'm going back to the ocean right now.
Lucky you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
I thought that was very well done. Rich, you're muted.
Well, thank you. We had a couple of snafus at the beginning, but once we got going, it was good. And Julie sounds like Joan Baez. I mean, she's just very, very good. And this is the first time that she has played a guitar since her injury. She's played a ukulele. This is the first time with the guitar, and she was right on. And the songs I requested were old ones because most of us are old.
Yeah, most of those songs are from my middle age, not my youth.
Did Julie talk at all about her injury? Because she seemed to be doing fine.